Welcome to this special livecast from SCOL. Our aim today is to examine the scale of the challenge facing the UK's security status against a background of reduced police numbers. We've lost 22,000 uniformed officers in the past few years, increasing political and environmental risks, and also arguably a shift in the very nature of crime itself. This is a unique time and a unique opportunity for sponsors to help us to improve national security and resilience for all sectors in the public and the private sectors. But first, let's look at some rather interesting and startling facts that John has been investigating for us.
Thanks, Jeff. And I think what I'd like to really use as a case in point is what I think is some of the best research I've seen over the last year or so. This came from Portsmouth University, and if we're looking at security, I think one of the biggest areas in general is fraud. And what Portsmouth University did as a study was look at fraud as a whole across public and private sector, and really try to assess what the true cost was, because government figures are one thing, but a lot of stuff gets unreported. People are very frustrated, or the amounts are too small and they just don't want the hassle. Sure. And of course fraud comes in all shapes and sizes, but it's being industrialized by a number of techniques that are out there. So this is the sort of figure that they came up with. It's 193 billion, and when you start using billions, you tend to have eyes glazing over. But that's a big number by any stretch of the imagination, and I thought I'd put it in context, because that's about 1.5 times what we spend on the NHS budget each and every year. That is their calculation in terms of a loss. And the biggest part of that, 3/4 of it, is actually coming out of the private sector. So that's being taken away from investment, from tax that should be going to government. Public sector is probably better defended, but it's still a big number. It's 37.5 billion, which is more than the Brexiteers are moaning about as the possible bill for leaving the EU. So that's really what I'm seeing in terms of a problem. From looking at that, Jeff, what's your view in terms of tackling that scale of crime? Where is that money going?
Startling figures, John. Of course, the worry is that money is being used to fund terrorism. Mm-hmm. It's used to fund organised crime, people smuggling, drug smuggling, weapons smuggling, etc. But also the worry that it's causing instability and threats to our very democracy. And we've heard about the Chinese and the Russians possibly getting involved in the American election, and while there are opportunities to destabilise our democracy are going to pop up there. That's the concern.
And there was the good old WannaCry attack on the NHS, which I think a lot of people say went back to North Korea, which is a less than democratic place. Right, if we look at that, is that threat likely to accelerate all of that bad money going into funding misdeeds? What do you think we're facing a situation that is a tidal wave or epidemic, like some of the national press say?
I think I used to be an optimist, John, but I'm rapidly turning into a pessimist. If you add to that the other risks that are out there in the world at the moment, such as increasing population rates, which are not sustainable,
right?
That will cause an increasing fight for scarce resources such as water, lithium that goes into batteries for future electric cars. We've got the problem of artificial intelligence, and where's that going to take us in the future when we reach the point of artificial general intelligence, when computers are as clever as you and I, and then artificial superintelligence when they're cleverer than you and I. What's going to happen then?
Could AI be weaponized?
Absolutely. We've already seen examples where we've had flash crashes on the internet. The stock market's fallen for no reason. The big worry, of course, is that somebody gets in and causes what we call a cyber Pearl Harbor. And they take control of the air traffic control system or the network rail signaling system. And we have a major disaster caused by people interfering with those critical infrastructure systems.
Okay, and what we're also dealing with is terror can spread quite easily through cyberspace, but in the end you've got physical attacks. And there seems to be a tremendous depravity happening in the types of attacks that we're seeing of late. Do you think that is going to change security in the UK?
It already has. I mean, we've seen the weaponisation of ordinary cars and trucks and vans being driven into crowds. So any small gathering now becomes a target. Anybody who can hire a car and drive a vehicle is a potential terrorist. That has a major implication for event managers, for football crowd managers on a Saturday afternoon. And I think that's going to have a real effect on the security geography that we see in the UK.
Sure. And finally, we've got massive regulation going into data protection in the finance industry, but yet we seem to have exponential growth in cryptocurrencies. Good or bad thing?
Dangerous, uncontrolled. Bitcoin is the big example that reached its highest level, I think, yesterday ever. But it's not regulated. It's an international currency that sits outside the boundaries. It's 10 years since the big financial crash. Are we going to see another one caused by instability? Yeah,
and it seems to be the tool of choice for ransoms and
money laundering.
Money laundering. Yeah, absolutely. So how bad can this situation get for UK PLC?
I think what we've got to remember is that in the UK, we're quite lucky. We've got the legacy of Bletchley Park. We've got GCHQ and got CASG. Many countries don't have anything near the sophistication of the defences that we enjoy. So if we've got a problem, the rest of the world really has a bigger problem than us.
Well, I'm going to pick you up on one point there, because I'm just going to relate to another slide I've got here, which is the money that's going into the NCSC. Now, I understand that's a 5-year plan, and it comes to 1.9 billion. I'm not very good at maths, but to me that's 1% of fraud, which we say from Portsmouth University study is being lost. Doesn't seem a lot, does it? I mean, is the government powerless to really make a dint on this? Because that's not going to go very far. We hear the police announcing they've only got 1% of their budgets allocated to cybercrime. Can we rely on government to tackle this?
No, and government realise that, and they're sensibly involving commercial industry, technology to get involved with them and help solve the problem. But we're always going to be on the back foot.
Okay.
The developers of malware are always going to be one step ahead of us.
Okay, so that brings us quite neatly to what we can do ourselves and what Security Experts' mission is. I know you and I at our last board meeting were talking about conversion to a not-for-profit, and I think we see this very much as a national service. But what would you say in an elevator pitch to a CEO is the mission, if you like, for our organisation? What can we do in partnership with other companies and other experts?
Well, our strapline says it all, John, I think. Together, online, we will make the world a safer place. So this is a huge opportunity for people to join in with us, to sponsor things like training, analysis, new products that are coming to the market to make the whole thing better. But come on, you're in charge of producing this. What can we offer at the moment to sponsors and people?
Well, I think the strategy has to be all about prevention, because when I talk to people that are involved in policing, the speed at which attacks can happen and the response times mean the money's left the country, the goods have been packed away in containers and shipped to Greece or Eastern Europe or wherever, and they just can't keep up. So I think our offerings have to be designed around building a human firewall. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just show you the basis on which we are going to mount this preventative campaign and build the human firewall. Really what this is a, if you like, a Sky News for the security industry. It's going to be packed and is already packed with a lot of video content. So that content is really split into two areas: news, alerts, and training. This is our training section, and essentially what we're aiming to do is provide a lot of free training, some of it created by ourselves, some of it by our partners, which is aimed at managers and their staff. If you go out into the security world, there's an awful lot of training which is aimed at IT manager and IT staff, and what we believe is they're doing a great job. There's a lot of accreditations and training courses, but the vulnerability is really around compromising ordinary staff in the finance department. So our desire is to build up a very large library that's kept up to date with the very best training tips in short video format, which we think is the easiest way to engage staff, so they can watch this at any time they like. On the news side, we're creating a lot of content ourselves on a regular daily and weekly basis, and people who are subscribed will get a summary of that, and any major alerts will be pushed out. But we also believe that there are some very useful blogs and other news feeds, and we'd be very keen to work with those. So, I mean, for example, it could be that a major brand in security already has a video news channel. We would be very happy to find a way to push that information in, as long as it's in line with the ethos, which is together online we make the world a safer place. We can come up with an arrangement where the very best channels are available on Security Expert.
So why is sponsoring SEOL such a different proposition? What's going to be the payback for our sponsors?
I think that we're really creating brand association with a national service. We do have some distribution already, so we can claim that we have the beginnings of a rapid audience growth. So just to give you some numbers, since we launched on the 22nd of June, we've had something like 85,000 page impressions a month on our social media, well over 1,000 Twitter followers. We're getting something like 40 to 50 subscribers coming on board every week, so that we're building up our online subscription to the base, and we're getting a good start on page views. We started out, I think, in the first few weeks on an average of around 1,500 to 2,000 page views a month. That shot up to 4,000 page views, with a lot of those being unique, so around 30% unique. So over the next 6 to 12 months, our aim is to have a substantial audience, and those sponsors, advertisers who come on board, we're literally only going to cover our admin fees in terms of pushing them into our space, and they'll enjoy the ride and the kudos of being associated with a service which I think you'd agree government can't provide.
Absolutely, but can they use their own branding as well as our branding?
Absolutely. They could either have ready-made material brought onto SecurityExpertOnline, and we have one or two projects. We recently shot a series for a cyber consultancy that deals with GDPR, and we, over autumn, we'll be hosting their channel within our service. Equally, if they produce their own material, they can simply have space allocated and promotion, so that people know that they've got the very best perimeter security or drone security training and news feeds coming in. So we're almost like, going back to Sky, with Sky you get a whole bundle of different channels, and that's another unique approach. Rather than just one brand and one set of news, we want this to be a complete marketplace.
So it's an integrated security.
Integrated, yeah. And what we're also doing on the production side, for people who've never ventured into video or think it's too complicated, is making it extremely easy for them to access the power of video production for simple news through to very high quality productions. If people go onto the website, if we just go back onto the screen there, I would recommend people take a look at demos that we put of the capability. In particular, and this is one area we'd like to see sponsorship, is events coverage. So we've put some samples of what we do and how we operate. But you know, people put an awful lot of marketing effort and struggle to get their 100 top prospects into London to an event. And we know from working with major brands in the past, you can get 10 times as many people engaged over the next 3 to 6 months by making a proper recording, live casting the event at the same time. So that's another form of sponsorship, simple enhancement of what may be an existing security event, seminar or workshop, where they're doing more than just needing a webcam. They've got some very impressive speakers. And we'd like to see sponsors work with us, to promote those events so we can get some pre-announcements out, and B, to help them collaborate with us and get a better audience.
What about product launches, John? I was up in Leeds recently seeing a major manufacturer launch their new fantastic security barriers. Can we cover that?
Yeah, we can cover those live. We can also do showcase demonstrations. Again, if people look at the website, they can see the kinds of show reels that we have. So I can go on to the production capabilities. Yeah, so again, if we go onto the website, I'd get people to just take a look at the video production capabilities. And we've got a whole series of different capabilities down here, which include showcasing new products. There are some examples that people can dip into, and they will show you that we can produce special effects and enhance videos up to agency level. But I think the thing about product announcements is not just to showboat, but to solve problems, to have case studies. And people can do those with us very easily in the studio. They can invite their clients, bring in video clips of the products actually in use in the field, and create a whole series of different applications and train people in the new opportunities to build up resilience and better security.
What about if the managing director wants to get a message out to his staff or to his or her clients, for example? Can they come in and do what we're doing today and just sit down and talk these things through?
Yeah, I think that internal communications is key, and we have got a good track record in running large-scale national internal communications programs. And I think the short-form video is professionally done, where you've got top-level management getting behind a particular initiative. It could be regulation to do with GDPR. That is the best way to reach staff. The alternative is trying to run a big video conference and everybody downing tools for half an hour. People can't afford that loss of productivity anymore. But you can probably get all your key messages in a 3 to 5 minute discussion or interview. And we can do those by sending a news gathering team to location. We can provide secure delivery, so it only goes to their membership, their staff. And we also have, if necessary, ways of tracking compliance, so that if staff have watched the video and acknowledged that their responsibilities are now going to be taken in line with the new regulations, you can have a dashboard with all of that presented back to show 100% compliance.
So are you saying we can do digital learning online?
That's a slightly different aspect. I think you could run internal communications as a learning strategy, but we have an existing partner that we've been working with on one project. I know that you've been working with Nimble, and we're open to other platforms. We can help provide the video content at extreme low cost, which can be part of a digital learning system with accreditation and certification, and other assets coming in, because video is just one tool. So you may want people trained with PowerPoint or You may want people trained with documents, and video is there as a brief. But I think the key thing is that with security moving so fast, we want to position Security Expert as a facilitator of both general news to the public as a national news service, but we can work in partnership with commercial organisations and private and public sector organisations to sponsor discrete private initiatives which can keep everybody on the same page, and if necessary we can add e-learning solutions in the future.
I think an example of that, we were looking at recently doing some work with magistrates who are independent, they're dispersed all over the country, and so this is an ideal way of, rather than bringing them all in at considerable expense to sit in a training room, you can do that training remotely. So a fabulous medium for that.
That's right. So that's the sort of commercial sponsorship opportunities where people can bring their own channels or work with us to create those channels of communication to build up resilience. There are advertising opportunities. Essentially, we can bring sponsors on board from just an advertising point of view for as low as something like £60 a month. And some of the video production opportunities are less than a couple of £100 per video with long shelf life. So that's, to your question earlier on, that's another aspect that's really very, very powerful, is that when material is on our channel, we're going to keep it there if it's of use for as long as possible, well beyond perhaps a period which has been the initial sponsorship.
But I know from industry experience that in the past it's been very expensive and prohibitively so to produce a video. With an engineering company I was with, for something like a 12-minute video, we were talking about £20,000–30,000 worth. You're talking about fantastically much less figures than that.
Well, you know, what we've done is we've brought in industrialized and digital techniques to use the technology and take what was very much a craft industry. It's the same if you bought a car, you could get it built by Aston Martin, hand-built, hand-veneered, and there's a lot of video production which is very, very good from a PR point of view, very glossy, but it's handcrafted, and you know that's where that cost is coming from. Whereas what we're doing is using the same technology that a local news and TV channel would use. If they were spending £20,000 to £30,000 for each video, we wouldn't get our local TV news. By doing that, we're getting costs down to a few £100s. And in fact, one of the clients that we've been working on with you, Jeff, is a big American security company where the production costs for training videos are sub £200 per video for quite sophisticated 5-minute long productions.
But that opens it up to SMEs as well as big corporates then?
Correct, yeah. And I think in the early days, as long as people are committed to a regular training or regular news series, we're probably going to give them free advertising space just to get that content onto the channel, and we're going to make life extremely easy for them. So I think to anybody who's in PR and marketing that's out there, any preconceptions that you have about trying to create an audience using video, forget those, because using this platform we can make the world a safer place and apply video and really enhance the marketing program. And I think that's one of the big takeaways from every presentation you go to where they're talking about video marketing, is a small spend on video has a dramatic effect on return on investment on the rest of your digital marketing. So it'll more than double your social media and email open rates and engagement, and keep people attracted and watching your brand for longer.
But what a tremendous opportunity, for example, for a small or relatively small installer to be able to show off the benefits of his or her product to the new audience base.
Yeah, and I think the thing about this is we want to create a one-stop service where the very best installers, dog handlers, people that, whatever the aspects are that can help improve security across the board are found, and that's what we're trying to do. But that's not all we're looking for. We're also looking for experts. We're looking for interesting interviews which can be conducted with yourself, with top CEOs, so that we get strategic advice for peer-to-peer improvements in strategy, because there's so much changing and so much happening and so many good ideas that getting a regular feed of experts, authors, writers, commentators, journalists would be interested in any collaboration where they may have existing video content that they want to bring on board and share with our community.
But the security industry is so diverse and has so many niche specialities in it. Let's take one, say DNA marking. There are probably 3 or 4 companies in the UK that do DNA marking, that you can mark your computer and give it a unique coding.
Yeah.
If we could attract those people to come along and tell the general public the sheer advantage of using that system to protect their equipment, what a great opportunity that is for them.
Yeah, but the thing is that I think we're the missing link in that. How does a DNA marking company actually find people that don't even know
of the capability
in the application? So I think we've got a role in educating buyers, and it's not showboating, it's not advertising and selling in a direct way. I don't think that is what we will be successful with. I think it will be getting that DNA marking company in to first of all explain what it is. Secondly, to go through maybe over a period of weeks a series that explores different major industrial applications and talk about the benefits and the case studies, and providing that material, which can be in their brand or through SecurityExpertOnline's own brand, across social media, will open up opportunities for them. It's awareness, knowledge sharing that I think we can do very well.
I think one of the things that we were trying to do when I was at NSI was drive up the standard and the quality of security services, and that's done by inspection and audit. And one of the things that we can help with is to help the end user to select a quality supplier who complies with all of the necessary international and UK regulations.
Yeah.
So I think we've got a role there in educating the end user.
Yeah, I think again that's a very different proposition that is sponsorable. We have a bank of experts that you've brought on board that we can share with sponsors who can write those procurement guides, and just like a lot of journalism now will have a commercial organisation sponsoring that independent advice on best practice when you're, say, engaging a supplier for CCTV, what questions you should ask, what roadmap is happening in technology, how much you should invest in future proofing. All of those questions can be put together by our experts with very little effort from the organisation that's sponsoring, but direct link to them and their brand. And if you like, that's that research I showed earlier on from Portsmouth University. I believe that was sponsored by a major information management company. So these are exactly the same types of partnerships we can bring to bear, so that there's independent buyer guides, buyer advice, best practice, allied to a brand. And we're in a perfect position with your expertise and the team of people you have to help author that.
And I think video now is becoming accepted as the medium, the media by which you contact people, you get the message through very quickly, very clearly, and it's not difficult, I think the message is. People do not need to be worried about coming in and being TV stars or whatever. No. They can come in here, they can relax, you're in a friendly situation, it's not threatening at all, and we can have that discussion with them.
Or we can go to them. Everything we do is mobile. I think also capturing events, as I said earlier on, is a very, very powerful way where people are natural in terms of presenting their solutions. They've got a big investment in getting the best demonstration available to an audience. But I guess it's another thing that we say, we're trying to bring the world of security to life. And the only place you can normally do that is at a big exhibition or show, or when you pull the customer into your showroom.
But that's tremendously expensive.
Yeah, but with this as a media and as a service for suppliers and for sponsors, we can really bring their people and their products to life. And people buy from people, seeing is believing, and I believe the future of what we're doing has far more traction and engagement possibilities than most of the media out there, which is still heavily text-based.
And also, of course, we can respond to events very quickly. If something breaks on the news, if there's an incident, if the government issues new travel advice, for example, about going on holidays to a particular area, we can have that online within minutes of it being in.
We can. I mean, obviously, that requires, again, a decent amount of sponsorship to have people on hot standby and the relevant journalists, but we're ready and waiting and capable of doing exactly that. So I think at the beginning, we're starting with some very simple and straightforward services, but our capabilities are going to be exactly the same as any video and TV news service.
And how easy would it be for people to get hold of those videos? Do they just need to log on and go to the website?
Well, it depends how easy you want to make it. We can make it very, very easy through any channel that their audience prefers. So we can feed the information out through Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or directly through the website. But equally, you might want to make it hard. You might want to password protect and only have a certain element of the community watching. So we work in consultation as to their preferences in reaching their audience.
And presumably we could do it as a podcast as well if it was somebody who wanted to study it in their own time.
Well, I'm glad you touched on that. We're already doing that. If you go onto the website, there are some podcasts, and all we do is, we'll probably do it with this session, is just strip out the audio, and there you have the basis for a podcast.
Fantastic. John, thanks very much for that. It's very positive news. I think we've made terrific progress in a very few months. I think the future is rosy, and I think if we do get the sponsorship and the necessary input, we will make the world a safer place.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jeff, for being a partner in this. It's been, I think, every stage and engagement with you, it's not just been exciting in terms of bringing things forward. It's also been tremendous fun, and I think we can bring optimism and a sense of new purpose to help fight crime and turn the tables on the bad guys. So if you out there are interested in anything that we've said, this is our very first livecast. We'll have another one on the 24th, but really it's down to you. If you want to make a difference and help us make the world a safer place, simply talk to myself or Jeff. We're very accessible. All the contact details are on the website. But thanks for letting us talk to you and give you an understanding of our mission and what we're trying to achieve. And we hope that we'll be able to meet you soon. Bye for now.